Hi friends, I'm Anju. Today let's consider the factors which affect the CRS score and how you can improve it. So if you have watched my previous video on how to apply for Canada PR through Federal Skilled Worker Program Express Entry, you will be knowing the importance on getting higher CRS score. So in this video, I'll be letting you know some tips and tricks on how you can improve your CRS score. So let's get started.
Before we get to analyze on the factors which affect the CRS score, let's try to understand what is CRS score. The comprehensive ranking system is a point-based system that Canada Immigration use to assess and score the profile and rank it in the Express Entry pool. This score is the basis of your invitation to apply for Canada PR. It includes a core set points of up to 600 and additional set of points of another 600. Your total score will be out of 1200. The core points consist of your skill and experience factor, spouse factors such as language and education, and your skills, that is your language and work experience. And the additional points are the Canadian degrees which you hold, a valid job offer, a provincial nomination, a sibling living in Canada who is a citizen or a permanent resident, and your strong French language skills. Adding up your core and additional points gives you your total score. And based on this score, Canada Immigration issues invitation to apply for Canada PR.
Now we know what is CRS score. There are 8 factors which determine what is the score you're going to obtain when you do the calculations. These 8 factors are age, language, level of education, work experience, spousal factors, valid job offer, PNP nomination, and siblings in Canada. In this video, I'll be letting you know on how each factor determines your CRS score. So let's get started with the first one.
Age. So in this video, I'll be considering both the factors, whether you're applying with your spouse or without your spouse. So each factor will have two columns or two tabular columns, which would, with one having the points which you obtain with spouse and one without the spouse. So in case of age, you obtain a maximum points of 100 with spouse, and without spouse you get 110. So as you could see, if you are between the age of 20 to 29, you get the maximum points out of your age. Higher your age, the points drop. And if you're below 20 years too, your points reduces. So the ideal time to apply for Canada PR would be when you're between 20 to 29 years of age. So if you could see, with each age increase, that is when you turn 30 years of age, the points drop by 5, and with each year you increase, the points keep reducing. So the ideal time is between 20 to 29. So let's consider your language scores. So for English, you can consider appearing for IELTS and CELPIP. And for French, you have TEF and TCF. So in this video, I'll be considering English as the first official language and French as the second one. So let's get to understand IELTS as the first official language. So the maximum points you can obtain out of IELTS as your first official language with spouse is 128 and without spouse is 136. Canadian Language Benchmark 7 is the minimum requirement for Federal Skilled Worker Program under Express Entry. You could see what are the scores you need to obtain in IELTS in order to obtain each of the CLB levels. For instance, let's take CLB level 9. So if you're obtaining 7 in speaking, 8 in listening, 7 in reading, and 7 in writing, you get a Canadian language benchmark level of 9. I'm stressing on CLB 9 because it is of higher importance and it makes the score which you obtain from other factors to improve as well. I'll be going in detail on how the CLB 9 helps to improve the other factors as well, but keep in mind that CLB 9, that is with each of the English language results, when you obtain a CLB 9 you get the maximum points. The same is the case with self-tip as well. I'll give you the scores which you need to obtain in order to obtain CLB 9 or above. So let's move on. Considering French as the second official language. So the maximum points you can obtain here is 22 with spouse and 24 without spouse. You can either appear for TEF or TCF. As you see on the screen, these are the points you need to obtain in order to get the maximum points out of each scores you obtain. Moving on, your level of education. So it is pretty obvious that you get the maximum points of 140 with spouse or 150 without spouse when you have higher level of education. That is, if you have a PhD, you get the maximum points, and with masters you get 126 with spouse and 135 without spouse. And if you have a bachelor's degree alone, you might be getting only 112 and 120 respectively. So higher your level of education, higher the points you obtain. But having said that, there's another factor which you need to consider in level of education. That gives you an additional of 50 points. So how do you obtain that? It's nothing but if you have a level of education which is more than a post-secondary program, you get 25 points if you're having CLB 7. But I said you get a maximum of 50 points. So how is that? That's where the magic of CLB 9 comes into picture. If you have CLB 9 in your IELTS, then the points you obtain, that is 25, converts into 50. So that's a double increase in your points. So if you improve your IELTS score by 0.5, the points you obtain from your level of education literally doubles. This is also the same with your foreign work experience. The foreign work experience is nothing but the work experience which you have outside Canada. So in this case you obtain a maximum points of 50. If you have CLB 7, you will be obtaining a maximum points of only 25 with 3 years of work experience. But if you have CLB 9, you will be obtaining a maximum of 50 points. So considering this factor and also the previous level of education factor, you get a total of 50 points extra with just a 0.5 increase in your IELTS score. So that's the reason I told the CLB 9 is kind of a benchmark which you need to achieve so that you get maximum points out of your level of education and work experience. So let's move on. Let's consider the spouse factors. So here I'm considering the level of education and your language scores of your spouse. So if your spouse has a bachelor degree, you get an extra of 8 points, and if a PhD or if a master's or PhD, you get a maximum of 10 points. And with each CLB level scores, you get a maximum of 5 points per ability. So you need to also consider the level of education and the language scores of your spouse to increase your scores as well.
So now I have explained all the core points which is determining your CRS score. I would like to emphasize that getting CLB 9 in your language scores is very important. Having said that, let's see what are the additional points. So if you have a sibling, that is, a brother or sister living in Canada who is a citizen or permanent resident of Canada, you get 15 points in extra. And if you have strong French language skills, you get another 30 points. If you have an arranged employment which is LMIA approved, you get another 50 points. And if you have provincial nomination, you get another 600 points. So these are the additional points which you want to consider when applying for Canada immigration. If you're eligible for either one of these, you end up getting the points in that category. So having considered all the core and additional points, the question you might be having in mind is, where can I improve? Yes, let's see, where can you improve your CRS score?
So the first factor was age. So the ideal time to apply for Canada PR is before you're 30 years old. So if you are trying to apply right away, there's nothing you can do about it. But if you are planning to apply in the future, please make sure that you apply before you're 30 years of age. And the next factor is the level of education. So if you have time to wait for a year or two, and if you have only a bachelor's degree, you can consider applying for a 1 or 2 year program, and this makes your degrees to have like 2 or more degrees. So you can have a bachelor degree, and additional to that you will be having a diploma or something like that. So that helps you to get additional points. The next is your work experience. So there's nothing much you can do about improving your work experience. The only thing you can consider is, like, if you are between 2 and 3 years, like you have a work experience of 2 years and 8 months, you can wait for another 4 months so that your work experience becomes 3 years, so that you get additional points out of it. So that is one thing you can consider. Another thing is the varied job offer. To be very honest, it's not very easy to get a LMIA approved job while you're outside Canada. So I'm not saying it's impossible, so let's not consider that factor now. So what else? Siblings in Canada. If you have a blood relation, your brother or sister living in Canada, and if they are a PR holder or a citizen, that's good. But if not, there's nothing you can do here.
Now you might be thinking, I'm applying right away for Canada immigration through Express Entry. None of these factors I can improve as of now. So what can you do? So, the magic tricks.
Yes, improve your IELTS score. So the minimum score you want to try to achieve in IELTS is CLB 9. That is 7 in speaking, 8 in listening, 7 in reading, and 7 in writing. If you might remember, this helps you to boost the points you obtained from your level of education and also your foreign work experience. So this helps to literally double your points. You get an additional of 50 points if you have CLB 9. Another thing which you can try to do is to strengthen your French. If you have NCLC level of 7, that would help you to obtain 30 extra points. The next one is PNP nomination. So I know that many of you have questions on how you can apply for PNP nomination, how it works, and things like that. So I'll be doing a video in the future explaining how PNP nomination works. But now I give you a brief introduction on how you can apply for PNP nomination. The first way is you can contact the province and apply for a nomination, and if they agree to nominate you, you can update your Express Entry profile, and that helps to increase your CRS score. The second way is, in your Express Entry profile, you show the provinces you're interested in. The province sends you a nomination of interest, and then you apply to their Express Entry stream, and if you are nominated, the province will offer it to you through your account, and you accept it electronically and proceed further. So these are the two ways you can obtain PNP nomination, and this helps you to obtain an additional 600 points, and this most certainly ensures that you get invited to apply for Canada PR in the next row.
There's another factor which you can consider if you're applying along with your spouse through Express Entry. That is, making your spouse as the primary applicant. There might be cases in which making your spouse as the primary applicant may increase your CRS score.
So there are a few factors which you can consider. That is, if you are above 30 years of age and your spouse is younger than you, and if your spouse's level of education is higher than you, and if they have higher language scores than you, and also if their work experience is more than yours. So in these four scenarios, you can consider making your spouse as the primary applicant. You can go through the CRS score calculator and try making your spouse as a primary applicant and calculate your scores. If it is more than the scores which you obtain when you are the primary applicant, I would definitely suggest making your spouse as the primary applicant. So, these are some of the ways in which you can improve the CRS score.
Now you know all the factors which determine your CRS score. So, go to the Canadian Immigration website, use the CRS score calculator, the link I'll be providing in the description, and try to see on where you can improve so that you can improve your CRS score and increase your chances to get invited to apply for Canada PR. If you feel this video has been useful for you, do like and share it with your friends. See you again in another video. Until then, goodbye.